What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we are coming in with yet another classic Hoot and a Holler video. Hope you guys do enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do, and also don't forget to follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. And one more thing I want to mention before I dive into it is I want to thank you all very much for the support on my recent videos, particularly yesterday's upload. Yesterday's upload is banging, dude. It's doing wonderful. We got almost 40k views on that in just one day, which is absolutely awesome. So I just want to thank you all so much for tuning into that video, choosing to click on that one. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications. What the fuck are you waiting on, dude? Press the bell. Smack that fucking shit right now. I'm not playing, all right? Without further ado, let's dive right into it. So, today we're talking about the time that I snuck some drugs into rehab. Now, listen, at the time when I was making my rehab videos, there's a very good reason that I didn't tell this story, and I feel it's important to mention this before we get any further. The reason that this one's been vaulted for so long and never told, like, this isn't like something I just mentioned in the past, like I've never made a video about this, right? The reason I didn't talk about this in the past is because at the time after I got out of rehab and I started making my videos about it, I was still going to outpatient treatment for a really long time, and my parents were monitoring basically everything I did at the time. So my counselor not only knew my YouTube channel and actively kept tabs on it, but so did my parents, because they would try to find any sort of evidence that I was doing drugs via my YouTube channel. So back then, if you go to my videos from 2017, it's actually kind of interesting to listen. In all those videos, I'm just the most goody two-shoes. Oh, I'm sober now. I would never do this now, guys, you know? In reality, I had to hide the goonery, okay? I had to lay low for a little bit, if you will. So that's why this one really took so long to come out. But it was kind of funny how this one came into my memory, because I completely forgot this even happened until I was talking about rehab with a buddy of mine on Discord the other day, and I was like, holy shit, dude, I forgot I did this for this guy. But hey, that's what inspired this video to get made. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let's dive right into it. So this took place way back in 2016 when I was in my residential rehab center, right? I got sent in for drugs. I was doing a whole cocktail of them, and I still do. And back then, this rehab facility was really... It was a pretty open place, right? Like, they let us go outside and walk around. They gave us a lot of freedoms that a lot of other residential facilities might not necessarily give. And because of that, these little crackheads in the building would take advantage of that all the time. There was kids doing hella drugs in this rehab. Mad drug. I don't think I touched on this very much in my rehab videos, because I didn't really want to seem like I wasn't taking my treatment seriously back then. But holy shit, dude. Basically anything barring like weed, you could get your hands on. Obviously, nobody was smoking weed there. Even like edibles you could probably find, you know? Like, you could really, truly get your hands on whatever the fuck you wanted. It's just going to cost more than it would on the street, and it's a total pain in the ass and a huge risk to get your hands on. But in this particular day, this was towards the end of my stay in rehab. This was like probably, I'd say, my 6th week or so. I was getting really close to getting out. And I had recently gotten a new roommate who, I don't remember what his nickname was that I gave him in the rehab series, but his real name was Kyle. So we're just going to go by his real name, Kyle. But Kyle was a super country guy. I mentioned him in the past. He got caught with drugs, actually, and kicked out of this rehab facility. But that's after this went down. So on this particular day, I'm hanging out with Kyle, and I didn't really know him super well, but we were roommates, and we were close enough, you know? Like, we slept in we were forced to sleep in the same fucking room. So obviously, we were close enough. I considered us friends, you know, very basic friend, good acquaintances at that point. But I didn't really understood that he trusted me like this yet until this incident. So he asked to go to the meditation room, right? And whenever you go to the meditation room, it was literally just this empty room with some chairs in it. But the thing about the meditation room is you could meet up with other kids from other units in the building. The building was divided into units, right? So there was different groups of kids, and the units weren't allowed to interact with each other because they didn't want to have too many crackheads getting too rowdy in one place. So they divvied up like where the groups of people went, right? So there was 2 units for guys, and there was a unit for girls, I think. Or maybe 2, I don't know. But either way, the guys never saw the girls, but sometimes the guy units could cross over, so we could talk to people from the other unit. And on this particular day, Kyle and I go to the meditation room. And the meditation room is one of the places you could talk to people from other units. So we go in there, and there's this kid named Sean chilling in the meditation room. Now, Sean was one of the few kids from the other unit unit that I'd gotten to know. He was a really fucking cool guy. He didn't give a shit, and he had drugs. Like, everyone knew this kid was basically the plug in rehab, right? He was the man. So we go in the meditation room, and Sean's sitting there. And we were chilling for a very long time in this room. And I don't really know how the conversation got to this. I don't remember. But it eventually got to drugs, right? We're all talking about our drugs of choice and shit. And Kyle mentions how he fucking loves oxys. He's like, dude, I need some oxys, bro. I love those little fuckers, dude. He's like, I like coke. I like oxys. And Sean's like, oh, you like oxys? He's like, I got a guy for that. And Kyle, you could just see on his face, his whole entire demeanor changes instantly. And he's like, what? He's like, you have a fucking guy for that? And he's like, yeah, like, I can get you some, like, right now if you want it. Not literally right now, but, you know, he can get the ball in motion right now. So Kyle's intrigued, and I'm just sitting there kind of third-wheeling their little exchange here, you know? You can see there's a little bit of love, a little bit of tension between these two, dude. Kyle's getting all frisky because he's about to get his oxys for the first time in fucking months, and Sean's about to make some money, so everyone's getting a little hype. But they get into discussing the details. Kyle's like, well, how am I going to grab this, right? Because Kyle, listen, he had, I don't know how, but he somehow had a plug for other shit, too. Like, I don't think Sean was able to get coke, yet somehow this Kyle guy was able to find coke in rehab. I have no clue where it came from, but I know Sean had pills. I know Sean was the pill man and the tobacco man as well. You'd always be able to get some dip off Sean as well. But we're chilling in this room, right? And they're discussing the plan. And essentially how it would unfold is we were, like I mentioned earlier, we were granted outside time, a certain amount of that per day. And during that outside time, we were really far up north in the U.S., right? It was snowy. It was really shitty weather. And there was we were kind of in a forest almost, this rehab place. Like, it wasn't a wilderness retreat by any means. It was off a main-ass road, not a wilderness retreat. But it was, the woods were right behind it and on the property of the rehab center, right? So when we got to go outside and go on walks, there was this chain-link fence that had no barbed wire over the top that people could easily throw things over or just climb over the fence if they really wanted to, with countless kids escaped by literally just climbing the fence. It was not hard, right? At least from what I remember. It was a tall fence, but it was easily climbable. But along the fence line, there was a shitload of trees, and in between the trees, there was this well. And the plan was, right? Sean was like, okay, he's going to drop your shit off at the well out back. And I'd heard folktale, okay? I'd heard rehab folklore about drop-off serves at the well, but I'd never actually been, this involved in one. So I was intrigued. I was sitting there and I was like, so this is actually a thing. It's one of those things that I thought, it's like the Loch Ness Monster. You hear about it, and then one day you just see it, and you're just like, holy fuck, dude. This is one of those things. I was like, oh, damn, the well serves are legit, boys. So I'm sitting in on this, and how it's going to play out is Kyle's going to get his money, right? The next day we got our allowance. So Kyle was going to get his money. We were going to meet back in this meditation room, and he was going to give it over to Dude, right? He was going to give it over to our homie. Homie was then going to get the drop-off arranged. Now, I had a lot of questions at this point. I was like, wait, how, what, how is this? Why are you giving him the money? Why doesn't he just call the plug and you leave it out there or something? And I asked that to Sean, and Sean was like, oh, well, I'm just going to pay the guy myself. Don't worry about it. So I was a little skeptical, but I'm like, you know what? It's not my money, so whatever. And Kyle agrees to it. So the next day rolls around, and Kyle gets his money, right? We all get our allowance for the week. And Kyle realizes really quickly that there's a problem. You see, Kyle was a goon. He was always a goon during his whole stay at this rehab center. And he had his outside privileges taken away. He wasn't allowed to go outside. So he couldn't go out there and collect this drop. And I remember we're sitting in my room the night he got his allowance, and he comes into my little booth. There was 4 people in my room. He comes into my little booth, and I'm sitting in there. And my other 2 roommates I don't think they're even in the room. I was just chilling in there reading a book or some shit. And he comes in. And he's like, yo, I need you to do me a favor. I'll do you a solid back. And I'm like, fill me in. I'm all ears. Because, I'm trying to make sure that I'm on good terms with my roommate. So I'm curious. And he explains to me that he needs me to go out and grab this shit from the well for him. And I'm like, wait. Where am I going? What am I looking for? Is it literally in the well? Am I climbing into a well? There's no way I'm going to the bottom of a well. Like, where is it dropped off? And he's like, oh, you know, I should probably ask Sean about that. I didn't really ask about that. He just said the well. So I'm like, okay, well, if you go to Sean and you figure out, however, you know, tomorrow, go to the meditation room, go to Sean, figure out how to find this shit, and figure out when this is even getting dropped off. Because we only had certain times to make phone calls. I knew that if Sean was going to arrange this, he would have had to go and call the plug, and then when he got outside time, he would have had to go leave the money by the well, wherever it was getting dropped off, right? So I was like, you have to go, and tomorrow you have to ask Sean where he's leaving the money, because that's where the oxy's going to be, right? That's where your pill's going to be. He's like, good point. So the next day rolls around. At this point, I'm all in on this GTA heist, bro. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. We're sneaking an oxy, and I didn't know how many he was getting. It turned out to just be 2, and honestly, I don't even know if they were real, but they did enough for the kid either way. Back on topic, though. The next day rolls around, and Kyle comes back to me, and he's got the details. He's like, all right, on the edge of the well, like on top of it, he's going to put the money under a rock. And then he said, like, there's going to be the bag under the rock. Just lift up the rock. It's on top of the well. It'll be the only rock that's on top. Can't miss it. I'm like, bet. Sounds good. When's this happening? He's like, he said he's going to be dropping it off tonight. So tomorrow we're going to have to go out. I'm like, bet. I'm so down for this. I'm excited. I'm ready. Let's go. I'm very nervous, but at the same time, I'm like, bet. Because I think I forgot to mention, but the reason that I was excited to do this is he offered me half a can of dip. Now, I don't normally dip. I don't do tobacco, right? But at the time, I hadn't had nicotine in a minute. I'd had, like, my other roommate, Zach, he snuck some in and we'd done some, but this shit was a delicacy, a luxury resource in rehab, a can of dip, because we can't smoke cigarettes, they'll smell it. Nobody had fucking Juuls yet, and they had metal detectors all through the building. You're not sneaking a vape in that bitch. No way, dude, literally, like, believe me, people tried. We couldn't even manage to sneak in Playboy mags, and we tried that too, bro. Listen, gentlemen, imagine not even seeing a pair of titties for like 3 months, okay? Do you guys have any idea how horny I was when I got out? Hey, off topic, back on topic, okay? So, either way, the next day rolls around and we're ready to rumble. It's game time, right? So outside time rolls around and it's relatively early in the morning. And Kyle stays in the room and I go outside. And I'm chilling out there, I'm hanging out. And Zach, my other roommate, he comes up to me. And Zach didn't know that this was a plan yet. But at the same time, Zach was the homie. Zach was such a real one, dude. He was absolutely the man. I haven't talked to this kid in years. I really hope he's doing well. But I consider him probably my best friend I made in rehab. But either way, Zach comes up to me. And he's like, yo, you trying to play some fucking hacky sack? I'm like, listen, Zach, I got to do Kyle a favor. He's like, what are you doing? So I kind of take him over to the side and I explain to him, I'm like, yo, I got to go grab this little drop from the well. Can you look out for me and make sure no one sees me going to the woods? Because you're not allowed to go into the woods, right? You're allowed to go outside, but you're only able to stay on the clear path. You're only able to stay on the, the flat grass, or it was snow at this point, but the flat, flat snow, flat grass, where there's no trees. Once you go to the tree line, you'll lose your outside privileges. They did not fuck around with that. So I tell Zach, I'm like, bro, you got to watch my back. I got to go out to the well. And he's like, bet. And then I explained to him, I'm like, dude, I'm going to have half a can of chew after this. Like, we can get bussin', dude. We can go stand in the bathroom on our, we can go stand in the bathroom and fucking dip. You know what I'm saying? Which, listen, we could never do it in the room. We couldn't use spit cups, so we'd have to literally stand over the toilet and spit and look a little homo every time someone came in the room and there's just 2 men spitting into a toilet, dude. Listen, it looked a little sus, but hey, you have to do what you have to do when you're in rehab, dude. You don't have a choice. So either way, back on topic here. I go out to the well. I start my journey. I start my travel, right? And I look around. I look all around the yard. I look to see if there's any employees looking at me. I didn't even see any staff in general outside. So I was like, it's now or never. I gotta go. So I walk over to the well. And I didn't try to sneak. I wasn't hiding behind no trees. I just straight fucking walked, beelined right to the well. Lo and behold, on top of it, covered in snow, was a rock. And once I lifted up the rock, there was a little baggie with 2 oxys in it. So I picked it up, cram that shit in my pocket, and speed walk back inside. I'm talking fast. And I get back inside, and as I come out of the tree line, Zach kind of walks up to me, and he just starts walking alongside me, and he's like, you get it? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I grabbed that shit. And he's like, nice, dude, bet. He's like, let me see, dude. So I show him, and he's like, holy fuck. Like, right, like, he kind of pauses. He's like, we should take him. And I'm like, no, dude, no. We can't do that. We can't do that to our roommate. That's kind of fucked. He's counting on me for this, right? So we go back to the room, right? We go back to the room, and Kyle's chilling in there. And I just throw him in his lap. I'm like, I got you, my boy. And he daps me up. He's like, my man. He's like, nice job, dude. And he goes to his dresser. He opens the drawer. He lifts up a bunch of shit. And he pulls out his dip. And he gives me half a can in a little baggie. And I'm like, holy fuck, my man. Immediately, Zach and I go straight into the bathroom and pack some fucking lips. And we were chilling, dude. It was bussin'. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of how I snuck some drugs into rehab. It was kind of fucked. And hey, I'm glad at least I was never into opiates. If that was like a different drug, like had that been a tab of acid, we probably would have been talking something different. But because it was oxys, I didn't really give a shit about even asking for any. I didn't want it. You know, I really didn't. But hey, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.